Hi everybody, my name is Victoria. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm here to do the Mid-Year Freakout Book Tag. This is a book tag that I did last year as well, and so if you're curious to see my answers from last year, I'll go ahead and link down my video that I did previously. But I actually think this is a tag that I'll be doing every year because I like the questions. I think they really do a good job of encapsulating your reading year so far. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into the questions. The first question is, what is the best book that you've read so far in 2019? I thought long and hard about this question, and I think I have to go with a book that I really was not expecting to love that much. And even while I was reading it, I wouldn't say that it was going to be my best book of the year. However, it is the only book that really I'm still thinking about, and is maybe the only book so far I've read this year that I can say for sure that I'm definitely going to go back and reread this someday. And that book would be We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This book is so incredibly creepy and dark, and I really enjoyed the whole unreliable narrator aspect of this book. This book is just really surprising me of how much it has stuck in my mind. It's just a book that I haven't been able to get out of my head, and I'm really wanting to pick up more from Shirley Jackson. If you like creepy books with a sort of twisted main character, then this is definitely a book that I would highly recommend. Question number 2 is the best sequel that you've read so far this year. I've actually read a lot of sequels because I'm in the middle of like 3 or 4 different series. So I'm gonna have to go with my very favorite being Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. I'm reading The Hunger Games for the very first time. I know, where have I been? But this has been just a really great experience to read these books. And this second one I felt like was even better than the first one. It really creates new stakes for our characters. It creates character depth. I was on the edge of my seat. I think I read this book in like 2 days. So this is definitely, I think, my very favorite sequel that I've read so far. Honorable mentions must include The Tombs of Atuan, which is the second book in the Wizard of Earthsea series, and I am making my way through the whole series this year. And then the second book also in Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Sea of Monsters. Again, I haven't read farther than the second book in either one of these series, so we'll see how I feel as the series continue. So I would say that 2019 has really been the year of the series for me, where I'm finally dedicating myself to knocking out some of these series that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. Question number 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but you really want to. I have a lot of new releases that I'm really excited to get to, but I think I'll just pick one for right now, and that's probably the one that intrigues me the most, because I've just heard great things about this author, but haven't actually read anything of hers myself, and that is The Harp of Kings by Juliette Maurier. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. This is a book that I guess is sort of a continuation of some of her other books in the same world. However, from what I understand, you don't have to have all that background knowledge to go into her new series. This is book 1 in a new series of hers called The Warrior Bards. And what I love about this synopsis is that it is a fantasy world with musical protagonists, and I don't think I've ever read anything like that, and I figured it was time to pick up a Juliette Maurier. So let me know if you've actually read her before. I'd be curious to know, and is anyone else looking forward to this release? This is being released in September, I believe. Me being the music nerd that I am, I can't resist a fantasy book that has music involved in it. So you know I'm going to be picking this one up. Question number 4 is the most anticipated release of the second half of the year. I would say probably The Toll by Neal Shusterman is going to be my most anticipated release. I can't wait to get my hands on this book. If you've read Scythe and Thunderhead, you know that Thunderhead leaves off on a pretty big cliffhanger, and so I have just been at the edge of my seat waiting for this book to be released. I think it's coming out in November, I think. But you better believe I'm going to be pre-ordering this book because I have to have it the minute it exists. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment of the year so far. For this I have 2, unfortunately. I almost had 3, but then I decided I didn't want this to be a really negative video, so I have 2 for this one. The first of those being Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. I did read this all the way through. I saw a lot of people ended up DNFing this book, and I can totally understand why. It was interesting enough for me to continue on. However, this book I had just heard so many amazing things about, and I saw some reviews that were like, this is the best book of the year. Everyone has to get this. It's going to win all the awards. And I picked it up and had a very different experience with it. This just was not for me, I think for a few different reasons. But mainly because of, I think, the amount of gore and sex and terrible things that happens. It's just, there's a lot of horrific things that happen. I don't think I was really prepared for some of those things. I thought this was going to just read a little easier, and it didn't. And then the next book that was a big disappointment to me was Descendant of the Crane by Joanne He, and this is a recent read for me. Actually, I read about 50% of it and DNF'd it. Maybe I should stick with it, I don't know. You can try to convince me in the comments if you love this book, but unfortunately, this just wasn't capturing my attention. And it's a beautiful book, and I just loved the idea of it, but the characters were really flat. I found the book to just kind of be floundering. It was hard to even pinpoint what genre it was trying to be. And yeah, this was just a big disappointment to me. So sad. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise of the year. I recently delved into romance for maybe the first time in my life. I think so, yeah. And I tried The Bride Test by Helen Huang and really liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and there were a few things that I didn't love about this book, but I would say overall, I had a great time reading it. It was just a really compulsive read. It was easy to fly through, and it was a really, I thought, sweet and cute romance in the end. But not only is it sweet and fluffy, it also has some depth, and I liked the topics that it explored. I actually have a whole book review of this, and so I'll go ahead and link it in case you're interested in my complete thoughts, but I will definitely be picking up more books from Helen Huang. Question number 7 is, who is your favorite author? Could be a debut author or a just new to you author. Helen Huang would be one of those people, the book I just talked about. And Rick Riordan, I've started reading the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and I've been really impressed with his wit and humor and imagination, and I've really been liking Rick Riordan. And I'm going to add Shirley Jackson to that list because We Have Always Lived in the Castle was such a standout book to me, and so yeah, I want to pick up more by her. Specifically, I want to read next The House on Haunted Hill. Is that what it's called? I think so. Question number 8 is, who is your newest fictional crush? I don't really get fictional crushes. I'm a little bit too old for all of that. But if I had to pick a couple, I would say I really enjoyed the character of Ezra from the Illuminae Chronicles files, whatever. And then another character that I fell in love with a lot more was Peeta from the Hunger Games. He's just sweet, and I want him to succeed and not die, but we'll see. I have a feeling he's gonna die, but I don't know. I haven't finished the series, so no spoilers, please. Question number 9 is, who is your newest favorite character? Again, I have to have multiple answers to this question because I just simply cannot narrow it down, but the main character in The Tombs of Atuan, her name was Tenar. She was really great. I enjoyed her being a strong female character written in kind of a classic fantasy era. You don't necessarily see a lot of strong female characters, and that's something that Ursula K. Le Guin really wanted to do with Tenar, so I really liked her. And then I can't not mention Percy Jackson, because who doesn't love Percy Jackson? He's a great character. He's just a fun kid, and he's just trying to figure out his life as a demigod, and so I really love reading from Percy Jackson. But the next character I have to talk about is one that I haven't actually talked about very much on my channel, but this is a book that I loved. It is one of the few classics that I've read this year really been slacking on the classics, but this is Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy, and Bathsheba Everdeen is our main character. And yes, apparently Suzanne Collins got Katniss Everdeen based off of Bathsheba Everdeen, so there you go, a little fun fact for you. What I loved about her is while this is a book written in the Victorian age, and it does kind of present a lot of Victorian values, Bathsheba Everdeen is not your typical Victorian woman. She is no nonsense, and she is strong, and she can run her own farm, thank you very much. And so I just adored Bathsheba Everdeen, although she did drive me crazy a little bit. And if you've read the book, you probably know why. But yeah, she's a great character. I found her very complex, and I was very impressed that Thomas Hardy, who is a white man in Victorian society, could write such a good female character. So yeah, this is just great. You should pick it up. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. I have to say I don't cry really very easily in my books. However, I do in movies. In a sad movie, man, I'll be a hot mess. But in books, I have a hard time making that connection. I think it's something about the delivery of a book versus a movie and how they can get a sad scene across. But I think that one of the most devastating books that I read this year was A Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. And in this book, you can tell she's just really trying to write something totally different than Harry Potter. And she does know how to write a tragic ending. And so this book just killed me at the end. And I wasn't loving this book until the end. And the ending really made everything come together and really made me think. And so I have to give this book credit for that. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy. I mean, a lot of books made me happy. I don't think I had one really like specific one, but I would say the whole Chronicles of Narnia has made me really happy. I'm rereading this for the first time since childhood, and I'm having a great time doing it. And so yeah, this is just bringing up like all the warm and fuzzy feelings that I always had about Chronicles of Narnia. So I would say that yeah, these are making me pretty happy. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year. And I have to go with The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I think this book is just stunning. And I'll just do a little model demo here for you. But this book is gorgeous. And unfortunately, it didn't quite live up to the hype, in my opinion. But it was still an enjoyable read. But man, it was a cover buy for me for sure. I didn't know anything about it, but I knew what it looked like, and I needed that book. And the last question is question number 13, and that is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Definitely my priority is finishing my series that I'm in the middle of. So that would be Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Wizard of Earthsea, that would be The Hunger Games, which planning on finishing that very soon. And also, The Wrinkle in Time is a series that I would like to reread, and I would like to start that fairly soon. And so as soon as I'm finished reading the Chronicles of Narnia, I'm going to reread The Wrinkle in Time Quintet, yes, there's 5. These were some more of my childhood favorites, and I'm really curious to see how they hold up as I reread them as an adult. Let me know how your reading year is going. Are you being successful in your reading? Are you hitting all your goals and benchmarks that you wanted to accomplish? I would say I am for the most part. I wish I was getting through my physical TBR a little faster, but isn't that always my problem? I just want to read fast and I want to read all the time, but you know, life gets in the way. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and happy reading. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.